Hey guys, Trevor Wade coming at you here with a new update for our UKC store customers. And for all of our Hunting Ops followers out there, we got a special sale going on from now through November 1st, where you can get some special sales on your Hunting Ops gear using code HUNTUKC. That's all capitals, HUNTUKC. Go get your Hunting Ops gear now, and you'll be perfect for the fall hunting season and this winter. On this week's episode, Alan and I are going to be recapping the 2025 Coonhound World Championship. You'll want to stay tuned for this one.
You're listening to the UKC Hunting Ops Podcast, celebrating hunting dog heritage, competition, and community. United Kennel Club has been the hunting dog sports home for coonhounds, beagles, retrievers, pointers, cur, feist, and more for over 125 years.
Welcome back to the UKC Hunting Ops Podcast. This is Trevor Wade. I'm the Coonhound Program Manager at UKC, and I'm joined today by the Director of Hunting Ops, Alan Gingrich. What's going on, Alan?
Doing good. We just got done, as we're recording this, with our Beagle World Championship this last weekend. So that was a long weekend too, so we've got both of our World Championships, the Coonhound and Beagle, out of the way. And it's good. I'm ready to take a little break and take my own dogs up to the UP. That's going to happen this weekend.
I actually talked about that in my bulletin a little bit. We had a really busy summer and early fall, and now leaves are changing and the weather's turning, and it's time for hunting season now.
Man, it feels like it here too at the office. Just this morning was kind of rainy here, and this afternoon it's kind of cool. I bet it's barely not much over 50 degrees, but it's definitely fall. It just has that feel today, like you should be out in a deer stand or running hare or something today.
Yeah. Well, as opposed to last year, whenever the temperatures were really high the weekend of our World Championship, man, we had a pretty awesome World Championship this year in Portland, Indiana, just a couple weeks ago. And probably the best weather that we've had at the World Championship that I can remember anyways.
Yeah, it's been a week later. We made it 1 week later than normal. This is the first year we've had 2 weeks in between the zones and the finals. And gosh, I know you like that for on the administrative end, getting things around. But man, what a difference that made.
Yeah, that made it awesome. Awesome. And by all accounts, man, one of the smoothest weekends for an event for a World Championship we've ever had. And that all starts in the qualifying year. We started actually in December. We have our Christmas Classic that Liberty does in December. And then we have a bunch of different qualifiers for the year. And during the qualifying year, we actually had 3,311 entries in our hunt qualifiers, with 808 hounds earning a plus point cast win. And therefore, they're qualifying themselves for the World Championship.
Yeah. One number that always kind of throws me off, you usually have a bunch of them that are qualified that don't enter for whatever reason, but sometimes I'd like to know why they're not entering the world zones. You're talking over 800 hounds that are qualified for it, and you end up with, like 530. You always, take out those 10 that missed the deadline, that are calling on a Tuesday, still trying to get in, that just flat missed the deadline. But yeah, but that's a pretty significant number of dogs that aren't qualified or that are qualified that didn't make it in. And I always kind of it'd just be, I don't know, be good to know why that is. But
yeah, that is a good question. With 531 hounds entered, that's quite a difference in numbers there. So that would be interesting. But I guess a lot of things, dogs change hands and different things. But
and that's true, But I think that's pretty common. That spread right there, I think, is pretty common.
Yeah. And so those 531 hounds were entered into one of 8 strategically placed zones. So they have the option to choose which zone they want to go into. And we ran it back with the same ones we had last year. And I just want to give those clubs and their officers a shout out quick. Zone 1 was hosted by the Reading Coonhunters Association over in Quincy, Michigan is where the address is. And their club contact for me was Tracy Thompson. Ended up with 90 entries. Alan Clow was the field rep over there from Minnesota. And you actually went over there Friday.
Yep, I sat in Friday and helped him there with it. And Gosh, I still love doing that. It's just good to go over there, and I was able to do that and kind of help him out a little bit. Not like he needed help or anything, but that's always fun to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Zone 2 over in Ashtabula County Cooners Association. Howard Red Anthony was our contact there. They ended up with 92 entries, and Jamie Eastep from West Virginia was our field rep at that zone. Zone 3 was in Flora Coon Club there, Charlie Brown Park in Flora, Illinois, a very popular destination for coon hunters. Brody Burdine, their club contact, is always easy to work with. They ended up with 93 entries this year, and Doug Cundiff was the head honcho over there from Indiana. Zone 4, hosted by the Missouri Coon Hunters Federation, and they decided to do it in Sedalia, Missouri, at the Missouri County Fairgrounds there. Mike Hayworth was the guy who led the charge for us. He lives there in Sedalia, and they ended up with 100 entries. They had the biggest zone of the year, and Tim Gilchrist from up in Iowa made his way down to be our field rep on site there. Zone 5, hosted by Hawkins County Coon Hunters Club out of Rogersville, Tennessee. Ron Stroud is the club contact there. They had 67 entries, and Brennan Scalf was the master of hounds. Zone 6, hosted by the Mississippi Raccoon Hunters Association. Ron Stark was the club contact there. They ended up with 33 entries. Kelly Deere stepped in for us from West Tennessee, and he was the official there. Zone 7, hosted by the Norway Coon Hunters Association and Mendel Miller. They had 22 entries, and Philip Foster was the master of hounds there. And lastly, Zone 8, hosted by Lamar Coon Hunters Association and Mark Vest. He was the club contact, our master of hounds. The whole thing there at that zone. And they ended up with 34 entries. And it was an awesome weekend for the zones. Over the weekend, 893 dogs went to the woods. Obviously, that falls off a little bit on Saturday with dogs scratching or withdrawal, or maybe you didn't do good and you decided to try something different. But they went out in 231 different casts, and only 11 of those 231 came back without a plus point cast winner, which is a 95.2% success rate. So I think when you're going to the zones and the name of the game is getting a coon on the paper and giving yourself a chance to advance, that's about all you can ask for.
Especially when you consider everything around the whole country, on that weekend for 95%, that's pretty good. 95% of the cast, absolutely.
Yeah, and we got to give a quick shout out and express our gratitude to the host clubs there, the judges and guides, the ones who make the whole thing go there at that level, our field reps, and of course all the hunters for getting their dogs qualified and competing in the zones championships. Really appreciate your guys' support for our world championship. So now we'll fast forward. Like you said, we skip a weekend, and then it was the weekend of our world finals. And we headed down Wednesday already and got down and started getting set up. Portland is a nice little drive down. It's not too far to go. And, man, it's always a breath of fresh air when you pull into a place and the host club is there and they're all willing to help. And man, that's super nice to have.
Yeah, it's a beautiful fairgrounds. I've always liked it. They've had a bunch of major events there. We had my first world championship there. Talked about it probably every day when we were down there, so you probably heard me mention it. I don't know how many times, but anytime, whether it was on the live stream or even there to the hunters. But just pulling in there just reminds me so much of that very first world hunt that I was a part of in 2005. They made some nice improvements on the buildings and all that there. We had everything in the building where we had our headquarters this year. In 2005, we had everything in there. So it was kind of nice this year to have a separate place for the show, another building, separate building, a good, clean, nice building there, But yeah, just a lot of, it just took me back to that very first one. And I can tell you, the first time in 2005, I was kind of a nervous wreck pulling into that one. And this year, I kind of chuckle about it a little bit. You still have, I don't know, I wouldn't call it butterflies going into it, for me, but it's just, it's been 20 years ago, but I still remember so many little details of that in 2005. Insane Jane won it, and Timmy Bolden was, I think he was barely 20 years old, maybe 21 at the time, and it's just kind of amazing how to think back on those days. I remember the hunt. I remember when we first turned loose. I remember us driving one of the company cars, and I had all the reps in it ready to go out to the woods on the final cast Saturday night. And the car was parked there on the end of the building there. And everybody's in it. I'm driving, and I cranked that thing one way to back out of there, and didn't there was a metal trash barrel there in my blind spot. Didn't even see it, so of course I ram into that, put a nice little dent inside of the company vehicle, and the owner is standing right there in the doorway, sees it all happen. Wayne Cavanaugh. So yeah, just a lot of things.
Yeah.
And I remember turning loose, first thing Jane shoots in there, and she gets, struck quick on a little ditch. And Kevin Phillips' dog, I think it was Abe or Doc, I forget which one it was. It might have been Abe. They struck really quick, and Jane treed that first coon that night, but she put on a show that night and won the world hunt. That was at 17 months old. If you think about it now, 17 months old. Still the youngest, 20 years later, still the youngest UKC World Night Hunt champion.
Yeah.
And look what she's went on to do since then. Top reproducing female, and a lot of offspring, have made their mark too as well, that go back to Jane now. So I don't know. Yeah, pulling in there this year, just think a lot of those things.
Yeah, absolutely. She was just the winner of our all quarter century cast poll. Just yesterday, we got the results from that, and she's moving on to the World Championship finals. But a female who that ex junior in Insane Jane cross. When you think about that, and the dogs out of that, and what they've sired, and how many pedigrees they are in the dogs we hunt today, man, that hunt that night kind of set the stage for what our dogs are today. I mean, in a lot of sense, a lot of the tree and walkers today probably go back, you see, you're somewhere back in that lineage. So pretty dang neat to see the beginning.
Yeah, and I'll just add, the next year she came back and waltzed right through the zones and through the finals, and under new ownership the next year, and came back and was placed second. Yep. In Tennessee, different type of hunting, Springfield, Tennessee, and still came back and was right in the running right down to the end of it. And yeah, she was a nice little package for sure.
Yeah, as an impressive a run as a dog can make over a 2-year period there. But Thursday night this year, like I said, the weather was the main thing. We decided to do all of our hunt confirmation stuff set up outside, and we had a new way of doing it this year. We did it all online. We're doing using the new materials that we're asking new clubs to use now, and we've been using them ourselves for Autumn Oaks, and now we used them at the World Championship. And man, it was I wanted to be on the front end of it. Typically, I'm at the end handing out get goodies and shaking hands, but I was on the front end working the computer, just with it being the first time. Wanted to be a part of that process and see where how efficient it was, and if there was anything that needed to be changed or anything. And man, it was quick. We were moving those dogs through quick, and it was fun talking to the people at the beginning and kind of seeing what they draw and who's handling, and all that stuff is fun. Thursday is just an awesome day. We didn't have the line there by us this year. I think it was probably on the backside of the building for pictures a little bit more, looked like, from some of the photos I saw. But it's a Thursday World Championship, one of my favorite days of the year to be a part of.
It is. It's always good to see everybody, all those that advance to the finals. Somebody just sits close to where they're taking the photos or where you're confirming their entries. I'll get to see everybody come through there, and it's always just kind of cool to see that parade of the top 100. In this case, 108 that were eligible. We ended up with 104. I think there was 2 females that came in heat, and another guy that just couldn't go hunting a male dog. I forget who that was. And then there was maybe one other one that didn't make it either. Seems like we ended up with 104, right?
Yeah, 2 in heat. One owner and handler was down on his health and couldn't make it, and one of them had some last minute changes at work and couldn't make it. Yeah. So heartbreaking for those guys. Some tough breaks, as they wanted to be there, but. But one good thing about it is, I think as quickly as we ever have, we had the cast drawn out and on the TVs for all the handlers and everybody to see there by doing it on an Excel spreadsheet, sharing it amongst our whole team. And I think that was as smooth as ever to let people know who they drew in there at dinner. I think they probably knew, just if not by 5, it was shortly after 5.
Yep, for sure. They weren't there very long. Started eating, and Nicole had it posted on the 2 TVs, and folks could sit there eating. While they're eating, you could already see them scrolling through, see all the casts and how they drew out and everything. And that makes it nice when you do, when you draw casts or whatever. They already know what their cast number is, so they listen for that. And you go through each of the names and all that as well. But yeah, it just moves things along. But yeah, that Thursday night is I always loved that night, and I don't know, just the atmosphere. All of our events are different. Winter or Autumn Oaks is different than Winter Classic, and then you get the World Championship, and I don't know. There's just the anticipation. It just has a little bit different vibe,
Oh yeah.
and it's a good vibe. And hey, this year was no different. It's like that every year. I love that we have a dinner on Thursday night. That just kind of sets the tone on that first night for the event.
Yeah, and we should mention it. I know that he probably doesn't want the recognition. I heard you say it during while we were talking about it, but Ashley Dalton, his company Diamond Flagging, stepped up and got that catered dinner. I intentionally didn't put him in my thank you post because I know in the agreement he kind of doesn't want that attention. But I know some people thought I might have left him out on. It was
Yeah.
actually on purpose. I didn't
Yeah.
want to
Yep.
embarrass him or anything. But hey, huge shout out to him. That was some dang good food there. That was a great meal. So shout out to Holly for getting that ordered up for us too.
That was really good. A quarter chicken, and I had some kind of steak in there as well, and the potatoes, and I don't know. It was one of the. I'd say this was the best dinner we've had as far as the food itself.
Yeah, I think so. Think so. Let's talk about the hunt a little bit. All day is all to get ready for the night's hunt, and as it seems like the past few years, this has been the trend. Is that just this time of year, it's a little dry. It didn't have much rain this year, similar to last year and the year before that, and in 2022 especially, dealing with some lack of rain and in some areas, and they haven't had much rain there at all, and they had some that week, which helped a little bit. I think we had a little bit of drizzling rain during Thursday, and man, the coons moved better. I think then, especially if you go back and watch the live show, I think the coons moved better than our panel was expecting when they were seeing some of the scores coming in. At the end of the night, over 27 casts, 125 coons were scored, not seen. Those were actually scored on the scorecards. That's 4.63 per cast with an average winning score of 392.6 plus. In a full elimination forecast where the score, or in a full elimination style events where score doesn't matter and people are probably paying a little bit more defense and dogs are getting scattered out a little bit. Can't really beat that. That seeing almost 5 coons a cast.
Yeah, that's on the live stream. I get to be a part of that on that first night, and I get to interview all those cast winners coming back. And I see you've got it here in your notes that it seemed like the blue ticks kind of dominated the spotlight. And when they first started, I think maybe our first dog that came in was a blue tick, if I remember right.
Yeah, Jeremy Purvis.
Yeah, Jeremy Purvis from Mississippi. He was the first one back there as a blue tick, and seemed like they just didn't stop. We had 14 blue ticks that were in the finals, and I think about half of them won their cast, made it through. A lot of times, whether it's some of the off breed, when I call them off breed, that's anything other than a walker seems is kind of considered an off breed anymore. But oftentimes it seems like they draw each other and this and that, but that was not the case this year. The black and tans were kind of separated. The ones that were in it, a couple of them that were in it, I guess. But same with the blue ticks. The guys draw their own cast. We don't draw them. They draw a cast number when they come up to confirm. But so it was, and they did pretty well this year. And there was a bunch of them that came through there. And I know Steve Burkholder, he sits on the panel, he's a color commentator for our live stream, and he's a blue tick guy. And, he was excited.
Yeah. Fist pumping and everything else they said. So that makes it fun when there's a little bit of pride at stake.
Oh yeah, heck, we have fun with that, and it's all in good fun, But he's always got this connection somehow to something, if it's a big country or something,
Yeah, actually, I want to say not just the first 3 casts or first 4 casts. We went almost 4 casts without a walker coming in. Now we had Jeremy Purvis with his blue tick, Trevor Hack with the English, and Chad McCoy with the black and tan right off the bat.
I know it took a little while. Took a little while before the first walker came in there.
Yeah, that makes it fun. That makes it fun.
It was.
I went back and watched the live show, and man, I thought it was fun. You see people talking online a little bit, and you have to take that with a grain of salt because it's a small minority. But we're trying to do the most we can with it. Obviously, can't have 27 different casts with 27 different live footages coming in. We don't have that capability to do that. But the good thing is for folks watching from home is that they were typically finding out who the winners were just a minute after you found out who the winners were.
Yeah, and that's true. Not just that, but Houndsman Advantage had their apps up too. So a lot of them could be watching that and actually see what's happening out in the cast. And I did not have time to even pay attention to any of that. Once the cast started coming in, our live stream started playing at about 11:30, I think. And at that time, I think I already had word that there were 3 casts already on their way back. So I didn't really have time to pay any attention to what was happening on those scorecards, on the Houndsman Advantage, that platform, But yeah, when they started coming in, we did not have a dead spot all night long. There was one right after the other, and it had a nice flow throughout the whole night. Usually we've done quite a few of these now, and oftentimes it's that last cast. That is, that we're waiting on. It seems like you got to wait a half hour for that last one. Hello, Trevor Hack. He's been that person at least
World
once
Championship
or
last
twice.
year.
Yeah, I don't know, but yeah, that kind of stinks sometimes, But this year we did not have that. They were kind of waiting on us, and wanted to give everybody their due time on the, in the winner's circle there, but yeah, that was good, and I think people like to watch that and see the dogs that are coming in, and just the emotions that you get from the handlers, just coming in off that first round cast win. After that, okay, sure, you want to win the world hunt, but after getting through that first round, that you're in for another day, and that's a big win.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's nice getting a peek behind the scenes to kind of see what some of these handlers are about. Some of them are big name guys that you just read about, and to kind of hear their story a little bit and hear them talk kind of puts a personality to them. Or there's some guys you learn about for the first time. And I think that's what I love most about the Thursday show, is seeing the different personalities and things like that. So before we move on to Friday, I did want to mention each of the top 108 did get a special World Championship vest that Razor Hunting Gear made for us. Johnny had delivered there for us, Johnny Watkins, and I think those turned out awesome. Those are always a big hit, and a good prize. Those vests are all coon hunters use them, and they're a very useful thing. And the little embroidery on there kind of makes them special edition, limited edition. So something cool for the hunters. And then also this year, in the past we've done plaques from Imperial Trophy. We did the slate plaques from Bryce Matthews for a couple years there, and he's not doing those anymore. So we decided to shift gears, and we went with some banners from Steinman's, and that was kind of you had sent me those that you had seen at I guess a 4-H show or something over on some livestock shows or something.
Yeah, well, it's kind of a typical thing they do or they used to do at a lot of livestock shows and things like that. Those silk banners or what have you, and
Yeah.
And Purina used to do those back in the day for their overall winners. They were, 3 times that size or whatever. And I always thought they were pretty doggone cool. But hey, we were a little apprehensive as to whether they were going to like them, but I think they did, and they actually looked pretty cool.
Oh, I think they turned out.
I'm pretty sure
good.
we're probably going to do it next year again. Might be a different color, change up the color a little bit or something. But yeah, they were nice, just something different.
Anytime you do something different, you're a little nervous or apprehensive about it, but I think they turned out awesome, and didn't hear an off word about them. Actually had quite a few people wanting to know if we had extras, and unfortunately we don't order extras, but gave them all the information on where they could possibly order one themselves there directly from Steinman. So like we've talked about this in every World Recap we've ever done. Each day at the World Championship's different. So Thursday, man, it's you're there, you're waiting for people, and then once you start seeing people, it's fast paced, one thing after another, and before you know it, you're laying down wondering what the heck just happened. Friday is a little bit different. You kind of everything's already kind of set up. There's some little piddling you need to do and getting things arranged for the top 27, but besides that, you're kind of just. You kind of get to know people a little bit more in depth, have some conversations with the people standing around and meet them for some of them you meet them for the first time, some of them you've known for a while, and just are able to talk to them a little bit more. And Friday is just a little bit more intimate in that sense that you're able to just to interact with the hunters a little bit more than you could on Thursday for sure.
Yeah, I love that Friday night. Every day is unique. Friday is a really good day. And obviously Thursday is too, with everybody there. And then Friday, everybody's in a good mood. They just came off a big cast win the night before in round 1. And it's just great there's not so many. You get a chance to basically talk with about everybody that's there, and then you're going to, we have a handlers meeting there. And I love how we've been doing that the last couple of years. And this year, you probably have it here in your notes. Forgive me if I'm jumping into your space here, but we have the lights from Bright Eyes that Ray Conrad gives away. Before, we only did the top 20 that got these lights, and I think last year is the first time we did it, but we had 27, give them to all the handlers. Yep. And, I had called Ray back year before last and told him, I said, man, I think it'd just be cool if we just have about 7 more lights to be able to just give everybody in that handlers meeting. And then this year, Ray could be there as well. So, and he in the handlers meeting, he talked about his new light, gave away that Avenger light, and just how it's built everything, and why he did this and that to it. So I thought that was pretty cool how he went and talked about that, kind of did a demonstration, and it's a great light, one of the best lights on the market out there, and everybody got one. And then also Philip Foster, asked him to speak a little bit to the hunters and just some positive pro speech or whatever. I didn't make any suggestions. I knew Philip, if I asked him to do something like that, I didn't need to give him any suggestions. He would come up with something, and he did, and I absolutely loved it. Just a good positive vibe going on there. We had our whole staff sitting there and people sitting behind the handlers and everything. I love that Friday like that, and then with all that, we go over the format, what that's going to look like, and all that, and how we're going to place the top 20 and such. And then we've got the big screens ready there for 9 casts, 27 dogs. Everything's 3-dog casts here now. And I love that part of it too. That has worked out so awesome. Yeah. 27 dogs and break them down into 9 casts, and all 3 dogs. And then they draw their own cast, sitting there and see who they draw. And that's just a good little handlers meeting. That lasts 25, 30 minutes maybe.
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Super good. Super good. Like you said, it's really neat that Ray was there. Not only does he donate so much, sponsor so much, and donate so much to United Kennel Club throughout the year, but it's not like Portland's next door for him. He came all the way from South Carolina to be there. And it's nice to have that representative there to kind of talk people through his new product. I thought that was a super good touch. So super, super glad he was able there to make it. So we had their lights there on their table in front of them. They were able to grab that there. And they also each got a bag of Eukanuba dog food as well to take to their truck as we started divvying out those prizes a little bit to our winners there. And the next thing to do was to go get them out for the hunt. And the early round, like you said, we were down to 27 dogs, and we've got to where we do 3-dog casts from the second round to the final cast moving forward. So we had 9 casts early, and in those 9 casts, 35 coons are scored. So that's an average of 3.89 per cast, and the average winning score of 383.3. And then late Saturday night, it's getting in the wee hours of the morning when those dogs go out on their casts on late that Friday night, and they still, over those 3 casts, they scored 12 coons at 4 per cast with a 283.3 average winning score. And I think we saw a little bit more maybe withdrawals and stuff in that late round, obviously, when it was getting late and people knew. But man, Friday nights, it's a very long night. You don't get out of there till very early in the morning. But the thing that I like the most is that people were kind of sticking around a little bit, and we were watching that Helmsman Advantage YouTube deal that they had going on, where we were getting live updates from some of the judges out in the woods on the cast, and able to see and seeing people get excited when the dog they were pulling for treated coon or something. That was super fun to be a part of, and that made a long night hour wise go by pretty quick when you're in there just cutting it up with people and having a good time. And something that adds to it is that all the hunters that came back were super respectful. We'll talk about it a little bit. There was no questions over the entire weekend. And I think we would agree on this, that no question shouldn't be the barometer of whether it's a good hunt or not, because there's a difference between good questions and bad questions, and good questions coming in that are legitimate, that deserve to be heard, or not a bad thing at all. That it's encouraged to get the call right. We should find out who the best dog is with our rule set. It's how the questions are addressed that can sometimes be a bad thing, and sometimes you have no questions and you still feel like you kind of got your tail whipped at the end of the night because of some negative feedback you may get from hunters or people coming in complaining about hunting territory or people on their cast or judges. And I had none of that. Not on Thursday night, not on Friday night, and obviously, especially not on Saturday night. But just a really, really fun Friday night where there was no drama, there was no unnecessary stuff, just good camaraderie and finding out who the best dogs were that night.
Yep. Hey, I'm sure just like any hunt, there's a lot of disappointments, at 3/4 of them, don't get to move on, I guess in this case, 66% of them, with the 3-dog cast, but hey, leave it out there in the field and congratulate the winners, and that's the way these competitions work. There's only one cast winner at the end of regulation, but yeah, I think, always try to, it amazes me how that we don't have more questions sometimes than we do. And it's a variety of things. I think, good judging is part of that as well. But I feel like also another big part of it is also the handlers, the hunters being reasonable is a word I use a lot, just doing things right,
Yeah.
and be reasonable about it as well. Things happen sometimes that we can't help. Sometimes you get a bad break. If this would have happened, that would have happened. A little bit here and a little bit there would have made change the outcome, but just being reasonable and I feel really the hunters have really you kind of came a long way in that regard. It's being good sportsmen about it, and you can't be a good winner without, you also got to be a good loser sometimes.
Sure. And at the World Championship, you're talking about some of the best of the best handlers out there, and a lot of those guys who are competing with their hounds. They've been around a while. When you make it here to the top 27, they know how to act, and they know how to get things resolved in the correct way. So, got to appreciate that. So,
yeah, and not just that, from our standpoint here, for me especially, and I'm sure you would agree, it makes me proud to be associated with groups of hunters like that.
Yeah,
that are great sportsmen and positive and a good reflection of the sport, in a positive manner. Love that.
Absolutely. One of the fun things at the end of the first round there Friday night, round 2 of the hunt, but the first early round on Friday night, we awarded our 20th through 9th or 10th through 20th place hounds, sent the top 9 back out in the late round.
Yeah, hey, one thing I want to bring up here for our listeners that is a little different with how we place that top 20. And we talk about in the handlers meeting, that second in cast will place over third in cast. So it's not just about the scores. We don't just place them by scores necessarily. We go through all the second in cast. Obviously the cast winners are going to advance, and then we place them by the non-cast winners, starting 10th through 20th there, but they're determined based on second in cast scores first, followed by third in cast scores.
Yeah.
So it's a different way to do it. The Beagle guys have done that for years and years, and we've done it. We've used to do it in Coonhounds, used to do it just by score, but I think this format really works. You're out there competing against the dogs in your cast, so that trying to compete for placement within your cast when it comes to placing the top 20.
Yeah, to me that's a no-brainer. We swapped over to that in 2023 with the invention of our full elimination format rules and changing how we place dogs here, and that's an absolute no-brainer. Makes a ton of sense. So I love that change. And I want to give our field reps shout outs at the end of round 2 and the end of round 3 there on Friday, placing dogs and keeping track of that. Heck, I would go back to print some labels or something to get the other one ready, and they've already got them placed in order and ready for awards to go out. So they got their finger on the pulse and know what they're doing too. And it's nice to have some good help out there with us for sure. They make a hunt easy. So at the end of the first round, we placed 20th through 10th, and they all got a trophy for their placement. They had already got their goodies. Everybody who's in the top 9 is actually in the money at that point. So we send out 3-dog casts late on Friday night when we get back. We have the 3 winners that are advancing to Saturday, and then we have 4th through 9th place. Those 6 dogs are getting placed 4th through 9th, and they all got a little bit more dog food, and each got $1,500 checks that were sent out to them early Monday. So congratulations to all those. That's tough to get there, and all those dogs were very deserving. So congratulations to their run. But then by the time that Saturday morning rolled around and the sun came up, we were down to just 3 dogs left, and a pretty interesting mix of dogs there in our final cast, I'd say. Um, let's see, and the days kind of started off good. We told them to get some rest, guys. Everybody was there late, field reps and the hunters and all, and got them to come in at around 5. We got their interview stuff knocked out for the live show that night. Had some really nice interviews and conversations with the hunters, and then we had some pizza from Roger Giesemann there with the local club actually owns that pizza place that we got the pizza from. So that was kind of a cool wrinkle. And then it just so happened to be our vice president, Nicole Sedlecki's birthday there that weekend. So we all got to enjoy some cake on behalf of her birthday. So hopefully we can plan that out every year to be so good timing.
Yeah.
So.
And I don't know how it would be, for the handlers or whatever. I don't know if I was handling a dog in the final cast, I don't know how hungry I would be,
Yeah.
like 2 hours before you go out on this final cast hunt, but no, most of them sat there and ate, and ate with us. And it's, the thing about Saturday night with the final cast that kind of stinks about a world championship is there's not many people there anymore.
Right.
And that's always kind of the sad part about that. But the good part about it is everybody gets a chance there in the afternoon to just kind of really, you get to know not just the handlers, but also their sidekicks and their supporters they have there with them. And it's all good. Everybody sit down and eat a little bit, snack a little bit, whatever before the hunt. And it's a good thing. I can only relate to what those Saturdays look like in the last 20 years, and they haven't always been like that. Sometimes it was just basically not really anything until it was about time to go hunt. You had a little meeting with them, and that was it. But I just love it. You kind of get together and hang out a little bit, get to know them, and just you always have some different personalities. And man, there were some personalities out there this year for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And even with a lot of the people gone between the final cast participants and their spectators and friends that were still around, and then some of the club members and our staff, we had 3 good cafeteria-sized tables there filled up with people just laughing it up and having some good conversation. That was a cool wrinkle to it. And the final cast judges this year, actually, Chad Showalter and Terry Tappy. Chad was the lead judge this year with Terry being his assistant. And those guys, that was the 4th round that they judged that weekend. They were there for the entire time, and they judged every cast they had the opportunity to. So we really appreciate guys like that. And I want to say deserving. I guess it's not really some people may look at it differently, but you got to be a little bit honored to get asked to judge a final cast like that, I think. And I think a lot of people have that same mindset, you would say.
Yeah, no, I'm sure that's the case. I got to judge it a couple of times before I worked at UKC, and that was the case for me. It's an honor to judge a big cast like that. It's also a job. You have your duties to do, and you don't want to screw it up or anything like that. But it is. And hey, Chad's he was a good choice for sure. He's been doing this for a long time, and he's a good guy and straight up good guy. And I was tickled that we had him to judge that, and Terry Tappy flanking him there, kind of his assistant, whatever it was that they needed. And Terry's good too, so yeah, and they did a great job.
Yeah. Guide was Ryan Davidson, and I actually got to ride around with Ryan and Matt and one of our camera guys there on Friday, and they had a couple different options they were thinking about for that final cast location. And this guy Ryan, he must know everybody in the county. He's like, we can hunt this farm. This farm is like, if we hunt here, we can cross over here and here and here. And you're like, I think we're going to be in fine shape. You got us really set up. There was some awesome places to hunt, and the final cast was super smooth with those guys involved. We ended up scoring on 4 coons. If you go back and watch the live play-by-play, with the winning score of 375 plus, and just an awesome hunt.
Yeah, man, action, non-stop action from start to finish. Or so it seemed. Again, we were on the live stream there on Saturday night, and man, it just kicked right in. It didn't take long, and just all night long there was something happening.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
That makes it fun, and all the way down toward right close to the end. And it was still kind of anybody's game all the way down to, I don't know, you could tell me better than what, in the last half hour, I'd say, wasn't it?
Yes, it was like you said. There was really no time to stop and catch your breath, and you're trying to do the math in your head, and everything that happened is significant in a hunt like this. Any little blemish or any circle tree or any you take a minus on a fence, a tree on a fence there with a coon on the other side, and it's just and the only downtime I can remember is there when the strike opens and we got all we cut loose the last dog in those fields, and the strike's open for 100, and it's quiet there for just several minutes, and you catch your breath a little bit, and you kind of remember the significance of what's about to happen whenever things start to unfold. And I kind of whispered to Bryce there, as I guarantee that they're all three going to be treed before hunt time. And we're going to have to walk a couple miles here before we know who the next world champion is. And sure enough, that these dogs don't waste any time anymore. They're so action packed and looking to get things done. And it's just incredible to watch dogs at the highest level compete against each other. It's awesome.
Yeah.
With Eukanuba, stamina is the one difference I'm seeing. When I'm running hair up north, my dogs will put on 10, 12, 15 miles of solid running, and they just don't tire as easily or as quickly. Oftentimes, my work schedule does not allow me to have the desired physical conditioning on my dogs, but even then, as many as 25 or more miles a day of hard running is just another day in the office. To me, it's been apparent Eukanuba's 30-20 sport formula is making that difference. Eukanuba, the official performance dog nutrition partner of UKC.
When the time settled and all the trees were scored and everything was settled, this year's world champion was Grand Night Champion 3, Willie's Little Ann. She's a 5-year-old tree and walker female owned by John Strickland, Ashley Oxendine, Doug Galbraith, and Randy Smith, with John out of Springfield, Kentucky, being the handler for the weekend. She's actually out of the 2018 world champion Gray's Rackham Willie and a female named Wipeout She Squirms a Lot. And second year in a row that world champion Willie has produced a world champion, with Little Lacey winning it this year and Ann this year. And the breeder on record there, the owner of She Squirms a Lot at the time of the breeding, Nicholas Jones. And man, Little Ann, what can you say about that hound? She's won just about everything. I mean, you talk about two events, winning the Tournament of Champions and the World Championship. Just winning both of those hunts takes so much to get qualified for them, to make it through the zones or the regions, which can always trip up a good hound. There's so many variables there, and then having to string together 4 cast wins in a row at a finals is a very tough task to do both of those. I don't know if we'll ever see a hound win both of those again, let alone in the same year. It's just, for everything to break right and for a dog to do that is just incredible.
Yeah, and that's just she's an incredible dog, and just does not make mistakes, and I think that's kind of been her forte, ever since John's been hunting her, got her there, and he got her off of J.R. Gray, and she had already been doing quite a bit of winning, as did her fair share of winning, and just seemed like she was always there for a couple of years there, that when J.R. had her. And I don't know what John does with dogs, but he has a way of getting the best out of them, and I think that's definitely the case with Little Ann here. And those two have just clicked. And you mentioned the TOC, with a lot of dogs, rises to the occasion there, is the winner there and comes back, 5 months later and wins the UKC World. That's just crazy to think what that dog has accomplished. And not just those two, if that were the only thing, she's won in other registries, won at least one truck, what maybe a side-by-side, and just a pile of money. And when I say a pile of money, as far as in other registry, I want to say John said it was like valued about $185,000 or whatever in a matter of a year and a half. That's just crazy. And this little female like this, and but I don't know. It's just so many, and his partners. He talked about his partners. I could put this at the end, but while we're talking about Ann, Doug Galbraith, Ashley Oxendine, very successful business guys. They come and support John, as just wherever he's hunting, whether it be the TOC, and here they are again in the World Championship, and they're out there, and it's kind of, both of them are, Ashley's kind of a quiet guy, just professionals, and and Doug Galbraith, just a classy guy. But just they are into this whole coon hunting thing, and they just love it, and this dog coming through for him. And I heard John say one thing, that Doug's out there hugging people strangers. He's hugging strangers. And that is so unlike that guy probably, but just shows the excitement that a dog winning a world championship or winning a world hunt has brought to those guys, and I can tell you, it is not about the money. There's also a $25,000 prize package, for the top 10 in this world hunt. The winner gets 10,000, and we could have given them nothing, and they would have been just as ecstatic of winning this hunt.
Yeah, kind of puts it in perspective for you. Absolutely. Second place at the end of the hunt was Grand Night champion Midnight Breeze, and she actually finished a night champion during her run here to the World Championship Finals. And she's a 2-year-old Treeing Walker female owned by Fred Tennis of Alexandria, Minnesota, and handled by Brandon Hathaway. And it's kind of funny. There's dogs like this, obviously Little Ann and Smoke Show. Those are names that you kind of knew coming into it. Midnight Breeze was not a hound that I was familiar with coming into the weekend. And already Thursday night, I see a Facebook post of somebody who it's like Jason Cooper, obviously knows what a good hound is. And he says he wouldn't be surprised, if this dog's competing for the World Championship on Saturday. And that sticks out to my mind because he knows what a good hound is. And then on Friday night, I hear some other whispers about her. And you start to think, hey, this little female, it could be her weekend, and then she wins this round, and then she wins this round, and then it oftentimes happens that you go into the weekend not even knowing about a dog or thinking about a dog, and then they just keep on winning and winning, and they make a name for themselves. And Midnight Breeze will be a dog that I'll be on the lookout for in magazine or in magazines, on websites and everything the next several years, because I guarantee this won't be the last time that we hear from her. She's a great little female out of Morris's Pack a Punch. So Morris's Pack a Punch is out of the old she's not Easy and Power Pack Cross, and then Borden Stylish Locket, bred by Farron Borden.
Yeah, we mentioned the owner, Fred Tennis. He always has good dogs and good bred dogs, and I didn't even realize Brandon Hathaway had a dog in it until he walked in there on Thursday night, and asking him, what dog he's on. It was this little Breeze female, but Brandon's been out of her for a while. But there's somebody I've known for a lot of years, ever since I've been at UKC, and he's about my age probably, but we've become pretty good friends over the years. But he knows a good dog. Like I said, he's been out of the last 10 years. His kids playing ball and stuff, but he used to hunt dogs for Jess Dickerson back in the day, and he put a lot of time into those dogs. He knows what a good dog is, and I was not surprised at all. And I guess he's a good example of maybe somebody that's out of for 10 years, and we get a lot of new people in the sport all the time that come in, and it's kind of amazing. But this weekend was kind of goes to show when somebody's out of the game for about 10 years that how many people don't really know who Brandon Hathaway was, but I was not surprised.
Yeah, right. And then rounding out the final cast there, ending up in third place, was Grand Night champion Willie's Smoke Show. That's a 3-year-old Treeing Walker male owned by J.R. Gray and Ellis Keene of London, Kentucky, handled by J.R. Gray during this run. And again, another dog that's out of the 2018 World Champion, Gray's Rackham Willie. And out of a female named Grand Night champion Hamilton's Mud Creek Queen, bred by Ronnie Hamilton. And man, Smoke Show had a heck of a month here in our registry. Just a couple weeks ago, he was in the final cast of Autumn Oaks, made it through Friday night and through the Grand 16 to the final cast, and ended up getting third overall. And I don't know if people realize this. I think it was alluded to a little bit on the live show, but all of the dogs are at 3 of the dogs and 1 handler from our Autumn Oaks final cast did very well here in the World Championship as well. Obviously, Smoke Show ended up getting third overall. Hoosier Daddy, who was the national Grand Night champion of Autumn Oaks, ended up getting 4th overall. And then Loudmouth Hook, who was second out Autumn Oaks, ended up getting 7th here in the World Championship. And the handler of the 4th Autumn Oaks finalist was actually Greg Maynard, who was hunting a different dog here and made it through to the second night. So pretty neat fact that I'm not sure many people are familiar with, but pretty good run for those dogs and handlers there.
Yeah, because oftentimes, you see a dog just coming off of Autumn Oaks, they're oftentimes like one of the favorites going into the World Hunt, and it just seems like oftentimes it doesn't work out that way, but definitely did this year.
Yeah, yeah. You think about it, it takes two different style of dogs. Oftentimes, you have
Yeah,
to have a dog that can
yeah,
tree some
yeah.
coons for autumn oaks.
And how crazy is that? J.R. Gray here as a breeder has two, as a sire owner, two dogs in it again. Last year's winner comes back the next year, has another winner off of Willie again, and not just that, but the second place or the third place dogs also, two dogs in the final cast like that. That's just crazy to me to think about that, because it doesn't seem like it was that long ago when J.R. Gray comes to Mount Gilead, Ohio with Willie. And nobody, or I don't know who J.R. Gray is, and he wins the whole hunt. And not just that, the dog turns out to be the reproducer that he is. And man, when you really think about it, what if he hadn't won that world hunt? You know,
Yeah.
we probably would have never seen this, how he has reproduced like this. Probably wouldn't even have the ands and the smoke shows and the
Lacey's and the
yeah,
Scars
Lacey's,
and the
yeah, and
Conor
the
McGregor's and
Conor
holy smokes.
McGregor's TOC winners, and right, it's just that's crazy to think how things happen and evolve like that.
The generational reproducer, when it's all said and
Yeah,
done, it'd be incredible what he ends up
absolutely.
producing. So,
Yeah, and he was at Autumn Oaks there. I took a picture of him there at Autumn Oaks on Sunday morning before we left, and I think JR still turns him loose every now and then, and but yeah, I posted a picture of him on my Facebook page that I took there at Autumn Oaks. But that's just crazy. That's I don't know. And here we are again at this year's World Hunt, and here's Willie's name just popping up all over the place. Really put his stamp on dogs.
absolutely, absolutely. I will say quickly, the final cast, they each got more Eukanuba dog food, depending on their placement. Got some more dog food. They each got a trophy. Obviously, the overall World Championship trophy is an awesome trophy. One to put on the mantle for sure. They each got a tier 1 coon squaller. They each got a dog trip Pathfinder 2. And then, like you said, the money that was on stake there, first place $10,000, second place got $3,500, third place got $2,500. And then little Ann, John Strickland's waiting on his embroidered jacket to come in, put the order in a week or so ago. So should be getting his jacket in any time to keep him nice and warm this winter with his World Championship jacket on. So
Yeah.
lastly, I do want to talk about the final cast play-by-play that was on YouTube, and I actually got to watch it. I actually watched it Sunday already, watched the whole thing, and hey, we didn't have the best service from the woods. Obviously, you can't. We went and tested it out on Friday and walked around some, and we're able to get some good connection. But hey, we can't control where the dogs go, and when you're putting on this hunt, the most important things are to keep dogs safe and to be in an area where dogs can tree on game, tree on coons, and to have a good, successful hunt. And if you can do that and have some good service, which is, what we strive to do, we do that for sure. And you always get into pockets or unknown areas or untested areas where you lose some streams sometimes, but that just comes with it. And, I know see a lot of people clamoring for more coverage from the woods. We put as much on there as we can get with our high tech cameras. With man, those things are.
Yeah.
You would think they have so much signal and super expensive, and a fancy backpack with laptops and a bunch of different wireless stuff pulling in satellites and everything else. It just sometimes you just in a bad spot.
Yeah, and it's not like they don't have basically state of the art, GPS or a signal pulling whatever ever they have. They have all the different T-Mobile, Verizon, AT&T, and all different those all in a pack type of thing, whatever that is. To try to get the best service they possibly can. And I don't know how that works if some of that big equipment takes more power and therefore just requires even better service to make it work. I don't know better than phones, but yeah, you're exactly right. We'd love to, if we could, what we'd love to do is basically be going to you, on every tree and getting an update from you, but that just doesn't happen. And quite frankly, it was we were pretty disappointed we couldn't get better service than we did this year. But I think even then, as far as the guys on the panel, they did a pretty good job of making up for that.
Yeah.
And we were able to, at least you and I talk, sometimes and get some reports from the woods. So there is pretty much nonstop action, but yeah, you do see, some of the comments, just shut up and, we just want to see, stuff from the woods. But you know what? You do it. You do
Yeah.
it. And then, then, they just don't know, so it's not like we're not trying. Everybody's trying to do that, and that'd be awesome. But hey, the one thing that you always got to look at and consider a little bit is, what do you put first? Do you put footage, or service ahead of having a good hunt and a good place to hunt those dogs in a world finals, or what? So those are real things you need to look at and consider. And I think still at the top of the list, you want to put the dogs in a good place to hunt. That's number one.
Yeah. Yeah, so by all accounts, an awesome World Championship night hunt. We'll shift gears now and talk about the bench show a little bit. And in RQE and qualifying slam bench shows this year, there were 1,318 entries with 716 hounds earning a category win, which can be a little bit skewed because some dogs probably had multiple qualifying wins, but hard to calculate that. So we're just giving you just basic numbers here. 171 hounds were entered into the World Finals, which is actually the largest number we've seen entered into the World Finals since 2018. So was super pleased with that number. The early round judge this year was Sarah Lingo. She's the local there from Portland, just a couple miles there from the fairgrounds. And she's judged some big ones for us in the past. She judged the Winter Classic back in 2011 and then also Autumn Oaks in 2018. So she knows what a good hound is.
Yep, she judged the first round there, where the show is a little different. It's not licensed, where they take all the males of each breed. They all show together, regardless of their category or whether they're registered champs or grands. They all show together, males of each breed, and then same thing with the females. And then we bring in a different judge to judge round two, which is all the 7 male winners, and picks one male winner, overall male, and then the same thing with the females. And then the final class is 1 male and 1 female, and then they select one to be the world champion, and the other one is the opposite sex winner.
Yeah, each of the breed winners, like you said, so 14 total, 1 male and 1 female in each of the 7 breeds, got a bag of Eukanuba dog food and an easy loader water spot system along with their trophy. And judging the final rounds this year was actually Katina Childers of West Alexandria, Ohio. She stepped in for us on late notice, so we appreciate Katina coming in. And again, she's judged some big ones for UKC in the past. She was the judge of Autumn Oaks in 2014, and she did the first round of the world back in 2018 over there in Mount Gilead. So
yeah. Hey, and speaking of blue ticks, this year it was the overall show winner was in fact a blue tick here, Hat Creek Papa Top Stylish Chrome. That's a 3-year-old male that's owned by Amy and Richie McDonald of Worcester, Ohio, and was handled by Amy. That's also the same dog that actually won our top 10 down at the Winter Classic this last year.
Yes,
Under a panel of judges down there, and this dog is off of a Grand Night Champion Racket Ridge Crash, and the mother is Razor Ridge, Be Just Like Poppy. That's bred by Amy McDonald. So here's a owner, handler, breeder right here in Amy McDonald, and overall winner there.
Yeah. For winning the World Championship, you got some more dog food, and embroidered Dan's jacket coming their way, and a Dakota 283 dog crate along with their World Championship trophy. So congratulations to them. Chrome there, he actually bested in the finals there, the female winner in the opposite sex, and that was confirmation champion at Skyline's Keep and Score, which is just a young hound, a 1-year-old red-bone female owned and handled by Beth Jenkins of Culpeper, Virginia. And Keep and Score here is out of Grand Champion Hall of Fame, Diamond Grand Confirmation Champion Skylines, Push My Luck. So remember what kind of run Luck went on a few years ago where he won just about everything. And then Confirmation Champion, Grand Champion 2, Stealing Mona Lisa, bred by Beth Jenkins. And again, for the same kind of deal, won some more dog food and a Dakota 283 crate along with their opposite sex trophy. So congratulations to those 2 hounds for sure. And I wasn't there. I actually wasn't there Saturday morning. I missed the entire show. I got to watch. Luckily, we decided to do the live stream on YouTube. I got to watch most of all of it on YouTube there, and that was pretty neat. You got to see that firsthand, I guess, and be a little bit of a part of that.
Yeah, on the first part of it in round 1, they just did a wide shot, didn't do any commentating with it, but you could see every dog, and I did the announcing. You probably hear the dogs as they're coming in, the names and all this and that. But then when round 2 started is when they brought in more cameras and did close-ups and this and that. But yeah, during that is when our own Daniel Champ sat at the desk and they kind of did some background commentating along with the first round judge, Sarah Lingo. So that was pretty good. And I think it turned out pretty well. I haven't actually went back and watched that yet, but as I was part of this, doing the announcing there, but yeah, I still need to go and watch that. But yeah, it's a good show. It's a good show. I got some nice dogs, man. It's crazy. The quality of dogs that you see at an event like that. But yeah, just a good show again this year.
Yeah, it was a good watch, good listen. You should go back and at least listen to the finals there with Sarah kind of giving her reasons for her picks and what she liked about this hound or that hound, and hey, that's kind of neat to get an insight into the first round judge. It's kind of cool being able to see what they or to hear what they saw a little bit, because it's hard to tell through your. It's hard to make picks through a camera. You don't get your hands on the dog. She can give you some firsthand knowledge there of what she saw and what she liked about some of these winning hounds. So.
Right. Yeah.
Quickly before we close up shop here, we'll do our shout outs, and hopefully I don't leave anybody out here. Got a good list of people here that we need to thank, and obviously we start out with our partners and our sponsors, because events like this just isn't possible without them. So obviously I want to give a shout out to Eukanuba, the official performance dog nutrition partner of UKC, and to our sponsors. Talk about Bright Eyes Lights, that top 27 man, Ray. A huge shout out to him and a thank you to him for always supporting United Kennel Club and our Coonhound events. I want to thank Coon Dog Wear, Razor Hunting Gear, Dan's Hunting Gear, Houndsman Advantage, Dakota 283, and Easy Loader Kennels. Just an awesome group of sponsors. Had a great prize package and a lot of cool stuff there available for the hunters and the show folks this weekend, or on this weekend. So I want to thank our host club, Limberlost Coon Hunters Club there, Bryant, Indiana. We talked about it a little bit already, just as smooth as World Championship could be. I don't know how, when we have our recap meeting, how I'm going to be able to come up with some cons about the weekend. It was just about as smooth as it could be. Folks with the club were there when we pulled in. They were still there when we pulled out early Sunday morning, and somebody was there with us every moment in between. So you got to give a shout out to them. And I know they would want to also mention some of the other clubs there in their area in Indiana and also West Ohio who offered guide and judge support and also were there to help them out. They'd want us to mention them as well.
Yeah, and hey, Trevor, this might be a place to put in just a little teaser. I don't know if it's going to happen because we don't know, but we've definitely discussed and entertained the idea of going right back for 2 years in a row back to there. So that's not off the table yet, but I sure wouldn't mind to be going right back to the Limberlost Cooners Club again, Portland, for the finals.
I don't think we'd get very many complaints if we did that.
I don't think so either.
Want to talk about judges and guides real quick. Awesome job by the judges and guides. We've already talked about how smooth the hunt was this weekend, or on this weekend, and that's a huge testament to them. So here's a list of folks who either judged, guided, or did both on casts over the weekend. Chad Showalter, Terry Tappy, Derek Bryan, Derek Compton, Jason Bowling, Bryce Matthews, Elmer Stolzfus, Cody McCracken, Dustin Feaster, Shorty Tinsman, Matt Lingo, Jeff Rickliffs, Kerry Oswalt, Brad Kelly, Nate Collins, Rob Urey, Logan Douglas, Ben Banks, Tyler Showalter, Kevin Cable, Dylan Eberly, Garrett Brown, Brian Smith, Jared Miller, Seth Mason, Jack Bingham, Jeremy Kidd, Ryan Davidson, Ryan Cheeseman, Randall Winchester, Darren Ridge, Rodney McCracken, Brad Wendell, Jeremy Hurst, Mike Sorg, Doug Summers, Tim Manor, Brent Carr, Sid Taylor, Zane and David Shaver, Noah Wingered, Eric Kiefer, Charlie Brunswick, and Eli Hemrick. Appreciate all you guys.
Yeah, they had a good lineup of judges there or whatever, and I want to say this one of them. And I'll just say it was Jeff Rickliffs. I was kind of surprised to see him there or whatever, and I thanked him for being there to help judge and everything. And, he told me is that, what, they asked him to come help judge, and he thought he owed the World Hunt and this event his time to come over there and help. And, man, that attitude like that, that goes such a long way, and that's that guy has, he's done well in World Hunts before and didn't have a dog in it this year and helps out in this manner. Man, that means a lot. That means a lot.
Absolutely. I want to mention our field reps that were there working this weekend: Doug Cundiff of Indiana, Curtis Sparks of North Carolina, Philip Foster of South Carolina, Jamie Eastep of West Virginia, and Brandon Scalf of Kentucky. Obviously, some of the best in the business. I say it every time, but those guys, we expect a lot of them. We ask a lot of them. Long days, long nights, and they're always there to lend a helping hand. And you don't ever hear a complaint from any of those guys. So I really really appreciate them, and I know you do as well. The live show crew, I don't get to deal with these guys quite as much, and I don't have their full names here, nor I'm not sure if I should say them. But first, we'll mention the talent. You got Jamie Eastep, Rick Stretch, and Steve Burkholder, and it's always fun cutting up with those guys and hearing them talk. They take this stuff, they may joke a little bit, but they take this very seriously. They talk to a lot of people. They do a lot of research beforehand. I send them a lot of statistics and stuff to go over beforehand, and they're always picking people's brains and thinking of different things. And they've put in their time in the woods, and they've accomplished a lot as handlers, and they can give a different insight that a lot of us who haven't accomplished what they have may not know about. And obviously, I want to thank the rest of the live show crew there: Rick, Jeff, Lars, and Mike. Just awesome guys to work with. They make it really fun.
Yeah, and there's a couple others that sit back there as well, help them that behind the scenes there that you don't really see. But hey, I want to say this about one of the things that the live crew does. They always, just to have some fun with it. They all make their picks out of every cast there on Thursday night, and it's just a fun thing, and just to talk about it a little bit. But got to give a shout out to Burkholder there. He won that whole thing. He picked 17 of the 27 cast winners in the first round.
That's pretty good.
He thought you'd have thought he was a world champion there just by.
So he did really, really well the year that 12 Blue Ticks won their cast early. So. No, 5, but
yeah.
No, very good, very good. So, and we always talk about some of our other folks that help out. Tracy Chilson, she takes awesome win photos, some great candids. Love seeing her content and pictures afterwards, and I just love working with her. Obviously, I work with her a ton throughout the year. I see her a lot of weekends, and she's always fun to work with. She's just awesome to be around. And then I have to mention Bryce Matthews. He went out with us on the final cast and was taking some awesome pictures. Dog's tree, and I love getting that kind of content for us to use on our social media platforms. And hey, when we didn't have any coverage out there in the woods, it was kind of neat with him adding in some color to the live show. That was a kind of a neat feature to put in there while we were just in a place where we didn't have any service. So that was a cool thing. And he helped out with some other things out there, and it's kind of nice working with Bryce. Me and him typically see things similar, and he was sure a big help to me out there when I was trying to keep up with some of the scoring going on with everybody spread out everywhere. So I want to move on to our staff a little bit. We had a good staff of people there. Annie and Andrea from our media and marketing teams, they were there. Obviously, I thought, coverage and results, I'm not sure how you can do much better. We talked to them a lot the past several years, and we ask a lot of them, and they get these things posted as fast as they can, and they have some great coverage, and I thought we did an awesome job there. Nicole and Holly, obviously some key cogs of our national events team. They make the things go. They get everything that we need to make it a successful event, and they do a lot of things behind the scenes that you guys don't even see. So really appreciate those two. Obviously, Danielle Champ was there, who's become a big help to our hunting ops team, a big part of our hunting ops team, Autumn Oaks on the World Championship, and she has done a great job coming in and helping us out seamlessly without no introduction there. And then, of course, I want to mention Lacey Merriam. She wasn't there at the event with us, but she's even 4 hours away. She's been always a big help to me. They're getting labels ready for me on Thursday. They were ready to print not long after everything was done. And me and her, we've worked together really closely the past several years. It's nice to have a little bit of continuity there with her, and we've gotten to where we can kind of read each other's minds a little bit on things that we're thinking and doing, and it's really nice having that. Even when she's 4 hours away, past work hours with her own family and things to do, she was a big help. And obviously, Alan, everything you do there, it's well known everything you do for the major events. So appreciate everything you did there, heading up the staff and making sure everything was done correctly, and just the face of UKC's major events, major hunting events. So.
Yeah, well, I enjoy it, and I appreciate that, but you have a whole team behind you that that makes us look good, and everybody has their assignments and this and that. And when everybody's doing their job, it sure makes an event like this go on. But hey, I will also say this: you're not going to pat yourself on the back, but there's a lot of people that do a lot of things and have a big part in this big roles. But I can guarantee one thing: there is nobody that has a bigger role, plays a bigger part, and does more than anybody else, and that's you, Trevor. From all the data that you put together leading up to it, out of the zones, just zone data and then world finals data. We talk about some of that stuff. You put things together for the live crew and that to talk about stats and this and that. And the way you put it together and just everything, any little stat you can think of, you're so good at that. And things that take up a bunch of time, but not just that. But everything you put into this event is, man, you deserve a pat on the back from everybody that's involved, because you do more than anybody else. I can tell you that, and you do a great job of it. So it's because of a lot of that makes it also as good as it is.
Yeah. Man, we gotta all appreciate that. We got a fun team. It makes it fun when you have a team that can all work together good.
Hey, and the other thing is that is still, we all work together so good. Everybody does.
Absolutely.
Everybody does.
Yeah. And lastly, the biggest thank you is to all of our supporters out there, the supporters of UKC and of the World Championship, who continuously work to compete and qualify their hounds for the World Championship every year, enter the zones, enter the finals, judge, guide, do everything that supports UKC. We really appreciate your guys' support. Like you said, we're making plans for next year. That's number one thing I'm working on right now, is getting the RQE schedule set for next year. I think me and you will probably go over zone locations, and what we're working on for the finals. I talked about that a little bit already. So man, we're gearing up for next year. Hopefully make it even better. Not sure how you can do it, but we'll try to think of something. We always try to, if you're ever complacent, that's whenever things start going backwards. So we always try to improve it. And hey, we talked about a lot today. We mentioned a lot of people, but there's a lot more winners that we weren't able to mention. Obviously, you can't sit here and talk for hours and hours about it, but man, there's a ton of coverage still everywhere from the World Championship. Go check out the UKC Standing and Results page on our website, Coonhound Standing and Results. There's a ton of stuff on there for you guys to look through. Go to UKC's YouTube page. You can watch Thursday's live show. You can watch the bench show from Saturday. You can watch the final cast play-by-play on Saturday night. There's some great stuff on there. And then if you scroll back through the Facebook and Instagram accounts a little bit, you'll find an awesome coverage, some videos, some awesome pictures and candids and things from the weekend. And there's just a lot to sort through. So if you missed any of it, go back and check it out. And hopefully we'll see you guys at the next World Championship. It's about time to get those dogs qualified again. Hey, Alan, I don't know if you've been messing around with this new Houndsman Advantage app at all, but I've been playing with it some, and it has some really cool features on it. One, it has the interactive scorecard view where you can assign strike and tree points at the touch of a button, and it automatically totals your scores after each set of points are scored and valued.
Yeah, no, I like it as well. Some of the features that I like is that you can access the rules and that it comes with a search function to easily find any specific rule. Also like that there's a place for your dog's registration numbers, and you can store pictures of your easy entry cards. I like that you can track two dogs' performances when out pleasure hunting. You'll find some analytics on your dogs. You can record their accuracy, win percentages, and a whole lot of things like that.
No more lying here on this app. The last thing about the scorecard I'll talk about is it has the summary view as well, where you can see the total points you have and the pending points that you have, along with tree timers for each dog. So it's going to come in handy for judges as well. So check it all out on the new Houndsman Advantage app. Thank you for listening to the UKC Hunting Ops Podcast. Be sure to give us a follow so you don't miss any of our new episodes or content.